We've invaded the animal kingdom for centuries, but this time they decided to strike back.
It's really sad. Like, I can get very emotional about it. It's really sad that we have to put up with this.
Out of nowhere, creatures big and small began to reclaim spaces we thought were ours. From busy streets to quiet neighborhoods,
I seen them. It was like, there were so many. It was frightening.
The unexpected visitors caused chaos.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Let's watch the unbelievable moments when animals invade and humans evade.
Go, 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 go. Go, 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 go.
Raccoon invasion.
35 years ago, you first started feeding some raccoons, and then when all of a sudden did it explode like this?
When you feed the wild, don't be surprised when the wild comes calling. In Poulsbo, Washington, a woman's decades-long habit of feeding raccoons led to an overwhelming invasion of over 100 furry guests at her home. On October 3rd, she found herself surrounded by the demanding critters and had to flee in her car to escape the chaos. For 35 years, she nurtured these raccoons, but in recent weeks, their numbers swelled dramatically, making her life a bit of a wild adventure. With trapping costs reaching up to $500 per raccoon, the woman is now in a tricky situation. Kitsap County deputies jumped in to lend a hand, showing us that being kind to wildlife can sometimes lead to a wild party. City of the Apes. During the COVID-19 lockdown, Lopburi, Thailand, turned into a total monkey playground. About 3,500 monkeys took over the city center, and it became a real headache for the locals. What used to be a busy spot was now almost deserted, with shops closing down as tourists stayed away from the aggressive macaques. These little troublemakers are well known for breaking into stores and bothering people, making life tough for everyone around. A local mentioned that the issue had scared off investors, which was a big deal for the city's economy. Seeing the situation, the authorities built laws to help deal with the monkey problem better. What used to be cute and charming about these monkeys is now just a headache. Baboons unleashed.
They're raiding houses almost every day at certain times of the year.
Along the beautiful Cape Peninsula, there's always this ongoing struggle between humans and baboons. These clever little guys have gotten so used to people that they often break into homes, especially during certain times of the year. Watching them in the wild is cool, but it's a whole different story when a troop decides to rummage through your kitchen.
Go, 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 go. Go, 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 go.
Rangers patrol the area with paintball guns to scare them off, but that hasn't gone down well with some animal rights folks. Even with things like baboon-proof fences, these crafty males still manage to get around them. Until everyone finds a better solution, this back and forth between people and baboons isn't going anywhere.
A group of residents got together and decided to manage the problem themselves. What they've done is they've erected around their enclave, but even that hasn't solved the problem.
Gatorgate.
Talk about an unwanted guest. A Clearwater woman waking up to a giant alligator in her kitchen.
Imagine waking up to the sound of glass breaking and finding a huge alligator flailing around in your kitchen. That's exactly what happened to a 77-year-old woman in Clearwater, Florida. The 11-foot gator barged in through a window, causing chaos by knocking over bottles and even a glass table. Caught off guard but quick on her feet, she locked herself in her bedroom and called 911.
A gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
The gator was eventually caught, but it definitely left a big mess behind. Crab March.
Behind me is one of the main ways that we protect the crabs on Christmas Island.
Every year on Christmas Island, the amazing red crab migration kicks off with the first rains of the wet season. These little red crabs come out of their burrows all at once and make their way to the ocean to mate and spawn. The males lead the charge, while the females follow, all perfectly in sync with the moon's phases. They must spawn at dawn, during a receding high tide, in the last quarter of the moon. If the rain waits too long, the crabs hurry to get there on time, and if it comes early, they take their sweet time, stopping for snacks and water. And guess what? If they miss the lunar mark, no biggie. They'll just give it another shot next month.
Just moving the crabs out of the roads in front of the cars.
Raccoon, raid.
I know you're going to love this because we love all the animal videos. Let's just give this OMG.
A viral social media footage showed a family of 6 raccoons who decided to make themselves at home, literally, on top of someone's ceiling. These crafty little guys got way too comfortable, and after probably munching on a bit too much, their combined weight made the ceiling crash. The video captured the raccoons falling down, totally unfazed by the mess. But that's not even the end. After the tumble, they just climbed back on top of the house, ready for round 2. It was clear reinforcements were needed to handle these stubborn intruders, because when raccoons take over, no roof is safe. Cricket chaos.
They just eat, because they eat everything. Anything in their path, they'll eat, including each other.
In Elko, Nevada, there'd been a crazy invasion of flightless Mormon crickets everywhere. Homes, roads, and even hospitals. These 2-inch bugs were so numerous that locals were breaking out vacuums and power washers to fight back against the swarm. And when you think, why didn't just they finish them? Well, that would make matters even worse, because when you try to get rid of them, it just makes things worse and smells like burnt flesh. It was so bad that the Nevada Department of Transportation sent out plows to clear the roads because they got super slippery from all the squished bugs, almost like an oil spill. Experts said this outbreak could stick around for years until enough predators come back to balance things out.
Experts say the crickets could plague that region for years until they're brought back under control by predators.
Mouse apocalypse.
Nice.
Let's witness the infamous bubonic plague that took over the smallest continent. No, we won't go through those bulky historical books. Rather, watch this. In 2023, the small coastal town of Corumba, Queensland, found itself overrun by billions of rats, sparking what can only be described as a mouse apocalypse. Farmers shared shocking footage of what looked like waterfalls of mice pouring from hay bales, flooding fields, silos, and homes. These relentless rodents devoured crops, invaded kitchens, and left unwanted surprises in shoes. The sheer scale of the invasion was unlike anything seen before, forcing residents to fight back with every trap and poison they could find. The authorities were working to control them. Let's hope the authorities took over the rats as they took over the town.
It's like the plagues of Egypt there.
Spider exodus.
Spiders have been all over the place. They're just going up on anything they can. There's heaps. On the other side, there's lots more too.
In March 2021, a farm in New South Wales turned into an unexpected scene, with thousands of spiders making a break for it to escape the rising waters. The locals were pretty laid back about the new 8-legged guys. They didn't really care, since they grew up around spiders anyway, and it's always been a part of life for them. The wild weather along Australia's east coast has caused some natural phenomena and pushed both people and wildlife to higher ground. While spiders might not be everyone's cup of tea, they really do help out in the ecosystem. So next time you see one, just remember they're just trying to get by like the rest of us. Monkey mischief. In 2018, the government in New Delhi was dealing with a wild situation. About 4,000 to 5,000 rhesus macaques causing chaos around important buildings, like the finance and defense ministries. These mischievous primates stole food, damaged power lines, and even snatched documents through windows. Locals, who often feed these monkeys due to their cultural significance, faced a tough challenge in changing their habits. Animal rights activists emphasize the importance of not feeding the monkeys and keeping litter away, as this sent confusing signals. To tackle the issue, authorities enlisted candelars, experts in monkey control. Meanwhile, everyone was advised to steer clear of these furry troublemakers. The authorities are still struggling, and only time will tell if this monkey business can be resolved. snake dropped down. In Malaysia, a family heard strange movements above their heads and soon realized something big was hiding in their ceiling. They called Malaysia's Civil Defense Force, who broke open part of the roof, only to have massive snakes drop down. These huge serpents had made themselves right at home, coiling up inside the ceiling. Luckily, the professionals stepped in and captured the snakes and restored peace to the household. While it's terrifying to think about, these snakes were simply seeking shelter. Next time you hear a bump in the ceiling, just hope it's not a snake. Rabbit rampage. The story of European rabbits in Australia is one of unintended consequences. Introduced in 1859 for hunting, just 24 rabbits turned into a population explosion, wreaking havoc on the environment. With no natural predators, they spread across the land, devouring crops and stripping the landscape. By the late 1800s, Australia was overwhelmed, and various control methods, including fences, failed. Even myxomatosis, introduced in the 1950s, which only temporarily reduced their numbers. Rabbits have since adapted to every corner of Australia, proving that even small beginnings can create big problems. Crow takeover.
Of birds flying through the sky in a local community.
Experts say it's part of an annual phenomenon.
Back in 2018, in the Oakland Shadyside area, thousands of crows suddenly appeared, filling the sky with their eerie presence. Residents were comparing it to a scene from The Birds, with flocks so large, they're frightening. Ornithologists from the National Aviary assured locals that it was just a yearly phenomenon. These crows were just roosting together, feasting, and settling in for winter. Sounds like a grand meetup. Some even migrated from Canada, but their gathering wasn't without issues. After eating all day, well, let's just say the aftermath was a bit messy. Locals were disturbed by their noise, but the authorities just suggested waiting until their grand get-together would end.
I seen them. It was like, there were so many. It was frightening, I thought.
Bat frenzy.
This is what locals here have to put up with every day. There's hundreds of thousands of bats flying around.
Back in 2020, in Queensland, Australia, an overwhelming swarm of fruit bats took over a local town and caused chaos and concerns. The sheer number of bats hanging from tree branches led to branches snapping under their weight. Even the parents were considering pulling their children out of school due to safety fears.
What was your biggest fear when you got scratched?
Am I gonna die? Like, what's gonna happen?
And you know what, due to these sneaky creatures, the emergency helicopters were not able to land near the main colony because of the interference. Here, you might ask why they just neutralize them. Well, that's not an option in Australia because these bats are protected under Queensland law, limiting what local authorities can do. So for now, they're just using some mild sprays to keep them away from the area. Let's see how long that actually works.
It's really sad. Like, I can get very emotional about it. It's really sad that we have to put up with this.
Snake den.
It's known as the snake house because it's literally infested with thousands of snakes.
When you open the door to the unexpected, don't be shocked when it creeps in. Like what happened in 2011 in Rexburg, Idaho, at the notorious Snake House. This place was a total nightmare for its owners, overrun by snakes. Not just a couple, but thousands of garter snakes. Sure, these critters aren't dangerous, but with that many of them, plus the smell and creepy vibes, it drove several families to pack up and leave. Even though the house was worth $160,000, they listed it for just $100,000, then took it off the market. I mean, who really wants a place filled with snakes? Some houses definitely have too many surprises. Capybaras. In September 2021, folks in a suburb of Tigre, Argentina, found themselves sharing their neighborhood with a bunch of capybaras, the biggest rodents out there. Local news reported that these friendly critters have been popping up more and more over the years, making life in the area pretty unique. With their chill vibes and social behaviors, capybaras have become the local favorites, often seen lounging by the water or casually walking across the streets. But with their growing numbers, there were worries about how they might affect the local ecosystem and farming, but some experts weren't that concerned. So, if you ever come across an unexpected furry friend, just remember, sometimes the best company is on 4 legs. Chaotic freefall.
You may have seen that dramatic video of hundreds of birds literally falling from the sky into a neighborhood. What on earth was going on?
In 2020, there was this creepy moment that felt like something out of a horror flick. Hundreds of birds just dropped from the sky and smashed into a neighborhood in Mexico. People started guessing about toxic fumes or electrocution, but one expert had a different take. He thought maybe a hawk or falcon disturbed the flock. Others claimed it was just one of those weird bird behaviors that pop up sometimes. Like in another incident, birds literally invaded the house. Hundreds of birds entered through the chimney and create total chaos in the entire house. Family tried to control the situation, but ultimately animal control had to jump in. And it took 3 entire days to remove more than 1,500 birds by hands.
We're on the curtains. I just grabbed them 2 at a time, so I had 4. Took them to the door, let them go.
Kangaroo chaos. In 2023, at the Heritage Golf and Country Club near Melbourne, a golfer, Stephen, couldn't believe his eyes when a bunch of kangaroos decided to join his game. He caught this incredible moment on video and jokingly warned the hopping visitors to stay away from his golf ball and called it a total chaos stampede. This incident wasn't new, though back in 2021, the club faced some backlash for wanting to cull the kangaroos that wandered onto the course. After a public outcry, they switched to putting up fences instead. This latest encounter showed how wildlife and humans mix in the most unexpected ways, adding a little fun to our everyday lives. Texas. Surprise. When old walls start to fall apart, you never know what might sneak in. A Texas rancher learned this the hard way when he found a bunch of rattlesnakes living under an old hunting cabin on his Gorman Ranch on January 4th, 2019. As he poked around underneath the cabin, he stumbled across dozens of these venomous snakes all coiled up, just trying to stay warm. This crazy discovery showed just how dangerous abandoned places can be, and reminds us that nature takes over when we leave things behind. Experts suggest being careful and checking these spots regularly to steer clear of wildlife encounters. Wild retreat.
Just quieting down quite more than it was. You don't hear as much out here. You obviously don't see the school children every day. It's quite sad, really.
When everything slowed down, nature really stepped in. And that's what happened back in 2019 in Harold Hill, East London, where deer were seen just chilling on the quiet, empty streets during the COVID-19 lockdown. A group of about 20 deer was hanging out on the grass, totally ignoring people and pets. These deer have lived around here for over 1,000 years, but with fewer humans around, they started exploring more freely. And it wasn't just the deer enjoying the peace. Out in North Wales, goats were roaming wild, while Barcelona and Paris saw wild boar and ducks taking over the cities. Sheep takeover. When people took a break during the lockdown, nature had its moment. In Samson, Turkey, folks were surprised to see a huge flock of sheep wandering through the streets. With everyone staying inside, the sheep made themselves at home in the city, munching on some grass as they strolled around. A local caught this unexpected moment on camera, with the adorable sound of bells ringing as the sheep trailed behind their owner. This sheep takeover was just one of the many times wildlife has taken advantage of human downtime. Non-native predators.
South Florida has hired 25 top hunters to capture and kill the snakes.
In 2009, Florida's Everglades was being taken over by an unexpected predator, the Burmese pythons. Originally pets, these giant snakes were released by overwhelmed owners and were now an estimated 150,000 to 175,000 pythons slithering through the wetlands. With no natural predators and the ability to lay up to 60 eggs at a time, they were devouring local wildlife. Not just rodents, they were devouring from deer to alligators. This unchecked invasion threatened the ecosystem, and officials started a bounty program to control their numbers. It may sound easy to control, but by the end of 2013, the authorities were only able to reduce the numbers from 3,000 to 15,000 pythons remaining.
The estimate is about 150 to 175,000 pythons out here.
And how many should be out here naturally?
0.
Rhino rampage. On July 31st, 2021, things got pretty wild in Chitwan National Park, Nepal, when a male one-horned rhino unexpectedly charged at a bystander. These rhinos are huge and known for being solitary and a bit aggressive, so you never quite know what they'll do when they feel cornered. With people mostly staying home during the lockdown, this massive guy ended up charging at people in the streets. Luckily, the man reacted quickly and managed to escape the rhino's path. The whole scene was a solid reminder that, when we head into nature, it's a good rule to keep in mind. Respect the wild, or it might just turn the tables on you. Grackle problem. In 2020, Houston was hit with a wave of blackbirds, and it had everyone in a bit of a panic. A video showed these birds taking over a parking lot, covering cars and just making a mess of the place. The Houston Audubon Society suggested that those little creatures were probably attracted to spots with easy food, like trashy shopping centers and fast food lots where they could chill on trees and light posts. Throughout Houston, the residents had to deal with this feathery madness, often using noise cannons to try to scare them off. And you know what? The flocks weren't just a Houston thing. They were showing up in neighborhoods all over, making daily life a little tougher for folks. Nature's revival. During the coronavirus pandemic, cities got super quiet and people stayed inside, which led to wildlife taking back their space. You could see deer wandering into neighborhoods and dolphins having a blast in the clearer waters. With fewer people around, the sounds of birds singing became more noticeable, and sightings of foxes and coyotes in urban areas became pretty common. This wild comeback really showed how quickly nature can bounce back when we give it some space. While we were cooped up indoors, the outside world was thriving. Fox frenzy. In 2024, Australian farmers found themselves facing a surprising new challenge: European red foxes. These pesky invaders are causing serious issues for livestock and local wildlife. With about 1.7 million foxes spread across 80% of the mainland, their impact is everywhere. Farmers are trying all sorts of tactics like poison baiting, trapping, and other methods to deal with them, but it's tough work. These foxes are clever and they adapt easily and can cover huge distances, making them a tricky opponent. The damage they cause runs into the millions each year, but farmers are determined to protect their way of life. War against camels. Ever heard about a state going to war with camels? Sounds wild, right? Well, check this out. Back in 2009, the Northern Territory government in Australia had to deal with a pretty bizarre problem: an invasion of feral camels in central Australia. Around 6,000 camels showed up in Docker River, a small town, all looking for water. These thirsty troublemakers weren't just creating chaos, they were messing up vital water mains and putting local residents at risk. The situation got serious, so the government had to step in and figure out how to handle these camels that were causing more harm than good. Elephant panic. always make sure your door is big enough for an elephant to get through, or else they'll find a way on their own. In a strange event in 2023, an elephant ended up stuck inside a house and couldn't get out. Panic hit as the huge animal tried to squeeze through a tiny door that was definitely not made for a 12,000-pound elephant. It started thrashing around, hitting the walls, and wrecking the place while trying to break free. It wasn't about being aggressive. It was all about fear. With no way out, the gentle giant did what anyone would do, fought for its freedom. In the end, the house was wrecked, but the elephant managed to break free. Just remember, when nature's big ones get trapped, nothing's going to hold them back. Cicada Symphony.
The emergence of billions of cicadas after 17 years underground.
Back in 2021, billions of cicadas, known as Brood X, popped up all over the eastern and midwestern US after spending 17 years underground. What was their deal? Well, they were on a mission to mate and keep their cycle going, and for the next few weeks, people continued to hear their loud mating calls filling the air as they tried to reproduce before disappearing for another long stretch. Some people might think these bugs were just annoying noisemakers, but others saw a cool cooking opportunity. Yep, you heard me. By throwing in some garlic, onions, and spices, they turned them into a one-of-a-kind dish. Will you try this dish in their next appearance?
How human beings can take advantage of them. Like, for example, eating them.
Python. Surprise! In Bangkok, Thailand, Somchai Subdong got the shock of his life when a 15-foot python was discovered hiding inside his living room wall. He first noticed a strange clunking sound and, after investigating, heard a menacing hiss. That's when he called in rescuers, who hammered into the wall to find the massive snake coiled up. Somchai joked that while fixing the wall was annoying, it was way better than having the python drop down from the ceiling while he slept. The rescue team safely captured the serpent and released it back into the wild. When it comes to pythons, sometimes the danger is closer than you think, right behind your walls. Just like that. Snake swarm. They say, when the snakes come crawling, don't think it's just a few. And in 2019, Albany, Texas was the proof of that, when a simple cable repair turned into quite a surprise. A guy first found a few rattlesnakes hiding under his house, but when Big Country Snake Removal showed up, they discovered a whopping 45 rattlers chilling beneath. It wasn't about a messy yard or anything. It was just the perfect hangout for these venomous snakes. As the experts put it, rattlesnakes don't care how fancy your place is. Luckily, everyone was safe, and they took care of the situation quickly. But it just goes to show that nature operates on its own terms. Always keep your eyes open, because you never know what might be lurking just below. Locust plague. In 2013, Madagascar was under siege by a savage locust invasion that spread from the dry south to the fertile northern regions. These pests were swarming across millions of hectares, threatening vital crops like maize, rice, and cassava. And you know what the experts warned the locust population months before the plague. In November 2012 and in Feb 2013, it hit the country, and within 1 month, 50% of the country was infested. Seeing this massive invasion, the country faced food shortage, and with the help of the international community and millions of dollars of aid, they were finally succeeded to control over it. But by the end of 2015, mussel mayhem.
little creature there is what's causing all of this. Zebra mussels. They show up on boat propellers, like right there, but also boats, docks, and
when tiny creatures show up, even the biggest lakes feel the pressure. Check this out. Back in 2019, zebra mussels, small but powerful, took over a bunch of Texas lakes. They were sticking to boats, docks, and even water pipes. Lake Travis, Lake Austin, and a few others were definitely feeling the effects. These invaders were really tough to manage, and just dumping chemicals wasn't the answer. It could hurt the whole ecosystem. So, scientists were all about prevention. They worked on barriers and treatments to stop the mussels from attaching to important areas. It was a race against time to get things under control before the mussels started reproducing.
There's already been multiple times where I've actually stepped on them, cracked the shell, and it cuts my foot open.
Shocked. A group of fishermen at Barkley Dam found themselves at the center of a viral spectacle when a pool of fish erupted into a frenzied jump around them. What looked like a chaotic fish invasion was a fishing technique, and those fishermen were actually trying to reduce this carp fish as their uncontrolled growth was affecting the marine life. By using rods to electrify the water, they created an electric shock that startled the fish, sending them leaping out of the water in a dramatic display. This technique is an effective way to gather a catch, but it sure makes for an unforgettable sight. Catfish crisis. Back in 2018, at Florida's Blue Springs State Park, manatees would chill in the winter, soaking up the warm, clear waters. But their peaceful vibe was getting messed up. Not by humans this time, but by an invasion of armored catfish. These fish were probably released from home aquariums and had taken over the spring. They were clinging to the manatees, making them stressed out as they tried to shake them off, even flipping around in 360-degree rolls. Plus, the catfish were digging up the soil to lay eggs, which caused erosion and messed with the ecosystem. Just remember, letting aquarium fish go into the wild might seem nice, but it can really throw off the natural balance. Python. Surprise! A Queensland family in 2023 got the shock of their lives when a massive 5-meter-long carpet python made its grand exit from their rooftop. The stunning serpent was spotted gracefully slithering down from the top of their house and into the trees, eventually returning to the yard. These pythons are known for their impressive size and stunning patterns, but this unexpected guest left the family both amazed and a little rattled. While they are non-venomous and mostly harmless to humans, seeing such a large snake up close can be a heart-pounding experience. Just look at it. Nature really knows how to keep things interesting. Tusker crossing. In Galgamua, Sri Lanka, an amazing scene played out as Kawanthissa, the largest tusker in the country, led a huge herd of elephants across a railway and the main road. As the elephants strolled over the tracks, a train came to a stop, with the driver softly honking the horn. This wasn't to scare the elephants, but to let them know the way would be clear soon. Elephants are super smart and have strong family ties, often traveling in herds and creating moments like this one. It's a cool reminder of how important it is to coexist with wildlife and respect their paths. Jelly invasion. When you heat up your ocean this fast, then be ready for the jelly invasion. Just look at this. In 2021, Trieste, Italy, the port was overwhelmed by thousands of jellyfish, a stunning sight captured by drone footage. This massive invasion of Rhizostoma pulmo jellyfish was likely linked to rising sea temperatures and strong bora winds that pushed them toward the coast. The researchers explained that even slight changes in temperature could cause these invertebrates to reproduce earlier, leading to their rapid increase. And you know what? This was the second year in a row Trieste had seen such an event. That raised concerns about the impact of climate change on marine life. And now, let us move on to our subscriber pick of the day. This image was sent to us by one of our subscribers. Similarly, if you ever wish to know more about an image you come across, just send it to us. Who knows, we might even feature it in one of our videos. On Amami Oshima Island in Japan, an unexpected menace took over. Habu snakes. These venomous creatures wreaked havoc, biting hundreds monthly. With fatalities piling up and no antidote nearby, panic spread through the island. In a bold move, scientists introduced mongoose to wipe out the snakes. However, there was a major flaw. Mongooses are daytime hunters, while habu snakes roam the night. The result? A mongoose population boom and no reduction in the snake threat. Now, the island battles both creatures. Thank you very much for watching the video. Do like and share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to not miss any of the upcoming amazing videos. Thank you once again.